Greetings and welcome to this month's ELA Professional Development on the Racist Writing Strategy. I am Codia Green-Gradney and I serve as an ELA Curriculum Content Trainer here in East Baton Rouge Parish Schools, and I will guide you through today's presentation. Remember, this year's EBR Schools theme is Nothing is Impossible. It always seems impossible until it's done. Now, let's do a brief review of today's agenda. First, we'll have a quick icebreaker. Then, we'll go into a breakdown of the racist writing strategy. We'll discuss definitions and I'll explain. We'll have some examples and some practice. And then I will also show you where you may find additional instructional resources. We will close with discussing using transitions in writing. Access to this presentation can be found on our EBR website, bit.ly/all caps EBR ELA. On the bottom right-hand side of the screen, you can also find our contact information. Without further ado, let's get started with our icebreaker. Which GIF expresses your mood? So I'll give you a second to look at all 6 of them. I feel I fall somewhere between a 3 and a 5 today. I'm getting the work done, being positive about it, and moving forward with my day. Now, what is racist? Students and teachers both use the race or races writing strategy to answer questions thoroughly as they cite and support answers with text evidence from the reading. This gives students a writing strategy to help them focus their thoughts, a very simple method to answer those text-based questions. Here are a few anchor chart samples that you could post around your room. Students may also copy these into their notebooks. You can copy them for them, but you want it to be somewhere that they can refer to it regularly as they are familiarizing themselves with the strategy. The RACE or RACES acronym helps them to remember these key components of a quality response as they answer questions about a passage, a story, or any text. This is also great not just for ELA classes, but for all subjects. Many students often are also unsure of where to begin when they are given a writing assignment. So this gives them a good acronym to memorize just to continue to guide them through their writing process. It gives them confidence as they begin each step of their writing. Here are a few EBR created resources that can be found on our ELA website. You can see an anchor chart to the left of your screen, as well as a copy of 3 bookmarks per sheet on the right side of your screen that can be printed and given to each student or taped on each student desk. Now, let's briefly review this graphic organizer. Usually, I would explain to students to look at a graphic organizer just by looking at it, even before reading it. See the layout of it. Just knowing the layout of a graphic organizer helps students to begin to organize their thoughts. Many of our students are visual learners. We have a lot of kinesthetic learners as well, but it just gives them that visual of how the words will be laid out. So, we'll discuss each portion of the acronym briefly as it's written in this graphic organizer. Of course, the writing prompt will always come first. We do want to understand that we would have to teach students how to analyze the prompt itself before preparing the writing. We must know what's being asked of us prior to beginning responding. The R is always the restate. We want to make sure that we are explicitly teaching each letter of this acronym separately prior to merging the letters together to form the complete acronym. So I would suggest taking several days to teach each acronym alone before just asking for the entire races paragraph. Our goal is not to infer that students already just know how to write and hear the letters, this is what they stand for, now write. We want to model, give them exemplars, and pace ourselves as we chunk each portion of the acronym. For example, starting with the R with the restate, showing them how a restate looks, how it sounds, allowing them a chance to practice, allowing them chances to turn and talk to a partner about the restate example that they wrote, and then coming back to the board to edit, if necessary, the restate that they started with. We would all practice this first one together, piece by piece. A, answer the question. As you can see in the graphic organizer, the R and the A many times are merged together. Many times, the R and the A would be one long, detailed sentence. But explaining to students, there's no one perfect, correct way to write. Not everyone's writings will be a mirror image of one another, but we can all continue to learn and improve our writing. C, citing evidence. Ensuring that we're teaching them what it means to cite textual evidence, teaching them how to take direct quotes out of a text and include them into the writing response, ensuring that they understand not all sentences in the original text can fit into this response. I would even explain to my students usually that citing evidence, although we're writing a paragraph, is very similar to multiple choice. Not all of these sentences within this text would I be able to pull to use as my evidence. There may only be 2 or 3 sentences here that would actually prove my answer. E, explain the answer, showing them what an explanation of the answer and an elaboration of the answer looks and sounds like. As a teacher, I would be at the Promethean board, writing along with the students, and again, allowing them to turn and talk to partners as they do this through the first time, just to help them to build that confidence. And S, sum it up, showing students how to conclude and how a conclusion sounds and why it's important to conclude our paragraphs. Here's an example activity that I would do with my students. Giving them time to practice, making it fun. We want to make sure that writing is incorporated into different activities versus only writing quietly at their desk. For example, with this activity, they would write for 2 minutes, take a break, talk to a partner. We would discuss it together. We would compare. This is where I would make a joke about cheating off your neighbor. Did they have a better sentence than yours? Is their textual evidence better than the one that you chose? Would you have chosen something differently if you saw theirs first? And having those discussions with their neighbor before going back to the drawing board. I would do a stop, turn, and talk with a partner between each letter of this acronym until we formulate a full paragraph. Again, this may not all occur within one class period, but over several class periods. Now, let's practice together. As you see, there's menti.com, or you can scan with your phone, and the code is 44806285. Once you get into Menti, I would like you to answer the prompt after reading the short text. The prompt says, according to the article, is it important for lions to live as a pride? Again, you'll go to menti.com and answer the prompt according to the article, is it important for lions to live as a pride? I'll pause briefly here as you're able to go to Menti. As you're pulling up your Menti, a brief explanation of this activity. This is a great activity to do with your students. You will see that once you begin answering, you can also see other students' answers. A great activity to get students involved in learning to write and to also learning from our peers. There are options to add more than one response, and you can determine that when you set up your Menti. Let's see some of the examples you all have provided. This is also what the students will see. It's also a motivational strategy to show, okay, students, there are 20 of you in the room. I only see 5 answers so far in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen. I want to see a few more answers popping up. We have 2 minutes. So as you can see, we can use this as a teaching strategy. Let's edit one of the choices on the screen, and you and your students can do that together without singling out any one particular student by name. So along with the turn and talk, Menti is another great opportunity for students to learn writing and learn from one another as they continue the writing process. Let's move on. Here is an example response for that prompt. You'll notice each area is labeled, the R, the A, the C, the E, and then of course we would also want to make sure that we review the S with our upper level students as well. Remembering, I would not only with the racist writing strategy, but prior to that writing, I would suggest analyzing the prompt with students and showing them the importance of analyzing their prompt, and then going into explaining the racist writing strategy and how their responses fit or do not fit into the racist writing strategy. Here's another sample activity, especially for our upper level students. When you'll notice this one looks a little different if you look in the center of the screen. Why do you think there are 2 CEs there? If you guess, because many times our students have to cite textual evidence twice, you would be correct. Many times they will have to use 2 examples of textual evidence within their response. Although it's still following the same acronym of citing evidence and explaining, it looks a little different. But making sure that students understand is not about the true acronym, but about the importance of the steps in ordering your writing response. The acronym just simply makes it a little easier to jog your memory. There are several other acronyms out there, and as they grow and they get to college, They may not see anchor charts posted on the walls in their college classroom. However, the order and the standard process of writing still exist. We'll still start with our restate. We'll still make sure we answer correctly. We want to still prove our answer by citing evidence and explaining. And then we still want to close out our paragraph, no matter what grade or age we are when we're writing. In this case, it's a color-coded activity. This gives students a chance to do a self-analysis or a self-check. Have I included all parts of this response in order to complete my response? And of course, we want them to practice these verbally as well. So this is not only for writing, but also when we're responding verbally, we want to be able to refer back to the text and explain our answers verbally as well. And finally, we'll talk about transition words really briefly. Again, understanding that teaching the racist writing strategy alone will not help ensure that your students write perfectly. There are other steps within the writing process. Another step, along with analyzing the prompt and understanding each piece of the racist writing strategy, is also understanding the importance of transition words. On the screen, you'll see a list of transition words that can appear at the beginning, the middle, or an end of a sentence. And there are many different categories of transition words, understanding that students have to learn how transition words connect ideas within the text so that the paragraph flows. And here is another anchor chart that will be useful for elementary and middle school students, but really all students of all ages sometimes need reminders of what good writing looks and sound like. So as we come to a close, I would like to thank you for taking your time to listen to this professional development on the racist writing strategy. Again, my name is Codia Green Gradney. You can reach me through email or through our ELA website as stated at the beginning of this presentation. And finally, our theme for the year again, nothing is impossible. It is always seems impossible until it's done. Thank you.